everyone. Welcome to Hair of the Dogcast. I am your host, Brad, Papa Be Rad. As I discovered last night, Frozen kind of named me. We're at Summer Games Done Quick 2019. Have another lovely guest. Our guest today, he's more than a man. He's a legend. He speedruns Warcraft 3, Star Wars Jedi Knight Academy, Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast, many other games. Just finished doing a co-op run of Command & Conquer, Red Alert 3. He also enjoys telling people to take a bath. The man with the golden laugh, the speedrunning scientist, Covert Muffin.
Hello.
Welcome to the show.
Yo, thank you so much, man. That was quite an introduction. Thank you.
I like my introductions. They're fun.
You did your research, man. You looked up my runs. It's good.
I got a few things done research-wise for sure. How's it going, Duderino?
I'm doing good. I'm like I'm now sort of in my home stretch. A lot of GDQ is a lot of the prep leading up to the event. Like after you get a game in, and every single GDQ that I've been to, I've had something to perform for. So like it's always the months leading up to it is just nonstop prep and nonstop thought and nonstop like strategizing the donations being read and like the content in the run itself, the memes, all that stuff. And then you get to the event and we just try and practice. Didn't quite go as we planned, but we were still able to show up and do a cool run. So
it seemed
felt good.
Incredibly smooth. You lost a few of the individual characters at some point. That was really fun, though.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Man, I have never seen that game done before, Command & Conquer Red Alert 3. It's amazing.
Yeah.
The acting is bizarre.
I think that's like one of the best things, like Railkun mentioned during the run, and he's absolutely right, is that through the Command & Conquer series, they have a bit more of like those serious overtones and like undertones and stuff. But like in Red Alert 3, they just hired a bunch of actors and they're like, this is just a big meme. Like they knew it from the get-go, it seemed like. Yeah,
they seem to go full on into the cheese. Tim Curry. Can you go more Tim Curry with it? And Peter Stormare as the scientist.
Yep.
Yeah, I would love to.
J.K.
Simmons and
George
Takei.
Yeah, George Takei. Yep.
And of course the lady who is kind of guiding you and the outfit that they decided she should wear.
Yeah, she's the boobs.
she's the boobs.
She's the boobs.
I would love to see some of the behind the scenes filming of those days. Those actors must have had a lot of fun just chewing the scenery.
Oh yeah.
So you said the scariest part of the run kind of was the opening when you were doing it.
Yep.
Why does that game have such trouble syncing? Is that what was going on?
Yeah. So the game itself was developed for co-op. Like they absolutely 100% like intended for you to play with a friend while you're doing it and have control of like two different things. The problem is EA was the publisher.
Yeah.
So I mean they discontinued their servers long ago. So EA just completely abandoned ship and said nope, we're done. And so a third party person or group made Command & Conquer Online, which is a third-party server that you end up like connecting to be able to do co-op and or multiplayer games with Red Alert 3.
Yeah.
So with that, the problem that we ran into is when we first tried to like sit down once we both arrived at the event and do practice, we sat there for over 2 hours like trying to get one mission to launch. Right, the one mission out of anything, we just wanted to try and play something, and we couldn't do it. And so after those 2+ hours, Railkun just decided to like randomly search these just like help forums, right?
Sure.
To like try and find some weird thread that would describe what was going on, and he found one random comment that was like, "It is a known issue that if you're trying to connect to this server, this Command & Conquer Online, from the same IP address on both computers, it won't work. It just 100% will not work." So after he found that, a bunch of like staff, like half a dozen people were like scrambling around, not scrambling, but like just trying to put their heads together to like figure out something to make it function. So they tried to like rig a router to trick the server into thinking we're connecting from two different IPs.
Yeah.
That didn't work. And so what he ended up doing was finding some like online service to just change your IP by connecting to a VPN server.
Oh, sure.
So just like one of those, I'm trying to hide my IP while I'm doing online multiplayer games.
Yeah.
And so that was the fix. But then on top of that, as I finish this monologue of a couple minutes of describing how extraneous a process this was,
Quality content.
yeah, this is one thing that went wrong, and we've been battling with things going wrong for the months leading up to the event. So like that was it. Like that was literally the scariest thing, was if we could get it to work once, we knew that it was going to work, and we knew enough times to like just try certain things. And so we had one period where we had to like take a few minutes to like try and make it work, but then after that things went pretty smooth and we knew how to fix it each time.
Yeah, and it was gold.
Yeah.
It was Railcoon's idea to do the co-op speedrun, right? He approached you?
Yeah, he did. After I met Railcoon just through other staff members who he's friends with, and I had watched his StarCraft 2 runs like back in the day before I had even started speedrunning. And so he reached out to me after we met at an event and like just chilled and hung out a bit and like made friendly, because he's a super friendly guy. And he was like, hey, do you want to play this game with me? Because I think you're going to like find these like cutscenes and stuff hysterical. And I know you have enough RTS experience with like routing and strategizing that we could put our heads together.
So you hadn't played it before?
No, I had never played any Command and Conquer game before this one. Actually, yeah. And so we tried it a few weeks before submissions opened for GDQ, because there's just sort of as some background information. To get into a Games Done Quick event as a performer, there's an entire application process where you have to like submit a video, submit a description, and like submit an estimate and try and work up your position on the leaderboard and like in the community as well, and yada yada yada. Because they do their research and they do look into that stuff.
It's amazing that the number of people that have to sit there and watch every submission too, just to narrow it down.
Yeah, thousands and thousands of videos, dude.
Because there's people probably submitting some garbage in there.
Yeah,
I'd like to talk to Darkman and see what the worst ones that he's seen come through.
They had a panel today that I unfortunately couldn't go to because I had to go out to dinner with the speedrunning community. That was people from the submissions committee, and so it was all about that. But luckily that panel is going to be up on YouTube, so I'm definitely going to be able to watch that after the event sometime.
Yeah. Are you interested in doing more co-op speedruns?
Maybe. I've been doing RTS like submissions because I sort of figured out Warcraft 3 was going to be a hot thing to submit to GDQ, so that's what I've been doing for the past year and a half. Now for submissions, and it's been a long 2 years of RTS speedruns, so I'm kind of ready to get back to movement-based speed games, which is sort of my specialty. You
don't see a lot of RTS speedruns done at these events.
No, you don't.
What about them really draws you to that style of game?
So, did you stick around for the StarCraft Brood War run by Dime?
No, immediately had to
it's good.
Get ready to...
podcast.
There's too much. I'm having too much fun elsewhere to have fun there.
Dude, there's too many awesome people at this event, man. It's true. It's so good.
Yeah.
But
hopefully I can watch some games at some point, because you get so distracted with everything else that's going on. But RTS speedruns. What about them?
So Day 9 TV. If you've never heard of him, he was a famous professional American StarCraft Brood War multiplayer player, and not only that, but he actually his brother and himself were one of the first like major esports commentators that sort of got onto the scene. And so Brood War was kind of like the start of that, and like especially in Korea, right? But then also when StarCraft 2 came out, like he made his entire channel about learning and improving at StarCraft 2. And so he put on this series known as the Day 9 Daily. And so 5 days a week, he would end up like producing a video where he would break down like professional players and their like gameplay and stuff like that. Or he would do fun shows like something like Fun Day Monday, where he would have people submit user replays of them going 1 versus 1 on competitive ladder in StarCraft 2 and attempting to win with a really silly constraint, like you can't build X unit, or you have to try and win with this ridiculous strategy that should never work.
Sure.
Right? And so he like from his channel, he has this very amazing like charismatic sort of air about him, with breaking down the finer details of how to approach RTS games, which are usually seen as things that have like a very high skill cap hurdle before you actually start to become or start to feel like competent, like in them, that you can actually handle everything that's going on.
Yeah.
And so that in itself got me more passionate about gaming. But then beyond that, like, why RTS speedrunning? Well, the first thing I tried to speedrun was StarCraft 2. Realized I hated it because StarCraft 2 is a absolutely brutal and savage game to speedrun. But then on top of that, it was just my friend Sajiki, who, if there's somebody that I tell everybody who asks me about why I'm speedrunning in general, it's in large because of him. And like he sort of like took me under his wing when I started speedrunning and taught me to become emotionally competent, but then also get really passionate about learning and improving and celebrating not only yourself but also things that other people are doing. Because like really, when you bring a game, especially to an event like this, it's because of the community. It's not because of yourself.
Yeah, you've been pretty much universally praised everywhere I've looked.
Oh wow!
For your commentaries you provide, your upbeat attitude. Some people seem to enjoy your laugh, I've heard about. Yeah, the classic. That's the classic laugh. You always seem so remarkably calm on stage. I know, but I know you've mentioned that you're quite nervous.
Yes. Oh yeah, every time.
What is your routine 20 minutes before you're going up? If you got the nerves going, what do you do to get yourself on that mind frame?
Yeah, I can talk about that. Would you also like me to like talk about what are those types of nerves? Because there's very specific things that come into play.
I want to hear everything you got, Mr. Muffin.
Let's do it, dude. So I get really bad like social anxiety to begin with. Like I get really nervous whenever I like meet somebody new, or like especially in groups. I don't handle groups as well unless I'm like intimately familiar with a lot of people in there.
Yeah.
And like the whole sort of like group situation, like Ori family, right? It's like I keep coming back to GDQ and they're fucking amazing. They are Ori and the Blind Forest speedrunning community. If there's one thing to take away from this, it's like they are the best types of people, and they're so hard work. Anyways,
I can confirm that's where I met you last night.
Yeah, dude.
The party was great.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So like that and so like that really helps me, but otherwise it's like I do have a hard time unless I have a direct in to be able to like get myself to like converse or like feel comfortable being myself, sort of a thing. So it used to be I was like death shy. Like in kindergarten, I would hide in little play buildings and stuff like that away from the entire class.
Cute little muffin boy.
Terrified. Yeah. But like how this translates to performances itself, well, it's like you have 100,000 people
watching you
every single thing you do. And so it's like, yeah, I'm pretty comfortable with these games, but it's always, especially as a speedrunner, where you take in these details of like, I have to handle this, and this, and all of these things can go wrong. And like, instead of focusing on how to fix those things, you focus on the problems instead of the overall thing. So on top of that, like sort of anxious aspect, there's also the whole like actual physical reaction to it. And so I always get a lot of adrenaline. I always get like a lot of jitters. So like my hands are usually like literally shaking for the first half of the run. This one was actually the shortest time period. It only lasted like the first 20 minutes or so of the run. And then I just kind of like calmed down and got into it.
It's so interesting to hear you say how nervous you are, because
you
seem like the coolest cucumber up there. It's true.
So the question was, how do I deal with this, right? Now that we've established that this is it. This is like how my body actually reacts. Well, there's a couple things. The thing that helped me and that I developed myself was I set 2 goals that I put everything into, and I will be absolutely like damned or fucked if like if I don't accomplish those goals, right? And so the first one is that I will show how much I genuinely love speedrunning and how much I enjoy this game. Like I'm here at an event. I got 2 hours to meme, right, for 2 fucking hours straight, and got to show off some really cool stuff in that speedrun. And that's like, I love that. I absolutely love that. I love explaining shit, and I love like learning and improving, and I absolutely love running the game, right? So like being able to show that on stage, it's absolutely one steadfast goal that I will always do, no matter how nervous I am, no matter how much my anxiety gets in and it's like stopping me from wanting to like say stuff or like do certain things that I know are going to embarrass myself, right? And so that's the first one. The second one is I will either be able to show or I will be able to explain why something that is actually complex is impressive or it is complex. Right, so it's like speedrunning is the science of video gaming, and so like things get pretty fucking deep the further you go down the rabbit hole. Yeah. However, you never have enough time to explain everything that's going on, like everything that
a lot of these tricks they happen in the blink of an eye, and there could be 10 different things happening in that blink of an eye.
And then also like taking an audience of 99.99% people who have never seen
Jedi Knight Academy.
The speedrun? Yeah, they've never seen the speedrun. And then also, B, have no concept of like what is involved and what is required to do the things you do, right? And then you have to try and explain in 30 seconds or less something that's going on so that they can walk away with an understanding, but also they can sit there in the moment to say, I generally know what that guy was trying to do, and he fucking did it. That is insane, right? Yeah. Like, and so you can convey that even if my hands are shaking too much, even if I am too nervous, even if I'm too worried to be able to show it myself. I will make sure that they understand.
And when I get nervous too, I do tend to laugh a lot too.
Yeah, that's one of my nervous tics.
No, that's a great way to get through it. Your 20 minutes leading up to it. What's in your?
Great, yeah. Thank you for bringing me back.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah. So leading up to it, my strat has changed. Usually, I think the most important thing for me is that I've done so many of these things. I've done so much commentary. I've done so much shoutcasting. I've done so many tutorial videos. I've done so many PB attempts. I've done so many runs. That's just all gonna go naturally. I rarely ever like go into sort of like the devil of the details, like leading up to the performance. So that 20 minutes going up, it's all focus on the first 5 minutes, right? You gotta get through the beginning, otherwise you're never gonna get into the run. So I myself am thinking about how do I introduce myself? Yeah. That I think will catch on. How am I going to interact with Railcoon? What are the things we need to do? Right? Like Railcoon completely forgot to introduce ourselves, and he was just like going to go immediately into the cutscene. I was like, no, we need to introduce ourselves and then also the couch. And he's like, oh yeah, absolutely. And then we talked a little bit about what was going on. We laughed that we're doing silly cutscenes and stuff, and then we went into the cutscene. And then after that, it was so this 20 minutes once again before the run, I knew that we were going to have technical difficulties. I already said everything that can absolutely go wrong will go wrong, and it did. Right, like the game didn't work,
and it's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. That's absolutely fine.
Tim Curry is going to save the day.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I knew it, and I knew that we would be patient, and so I mentally prepared myself to be patient. And then I said, okay. And then once we get the game running, throw it over to the audience to say, yeah, we just did something cool. We made the game work. And then that gets them to cheer. That makes you feel better. That makes everybody else feel better. And then you go into it, man.
Yeah, after the first few times you did the speed runs, Jedi Knight Academy comes to mind in particular.
Oh, yeah, that was really solid.
It's great to know that the community is behind you. You know that even if things aren't going perfect in the run, that people are going to still, that's the community. They're going to be clapping. Man. They're going to be positive.
Yeah.
So you get done doing your excellent run.
Sure.
What do you like to do right afterwards to recharge? Do you need
whiskey?
Whiskey? Yes, my man.
Honestly,
bourbon or scotch?
I'm a bit of a bourbon boy.
Okay.
I do like I like Irish whiskey a lot because it has a nice burn to it, but it also I do like bourbon but not when it's too sweet. Like I've had bourbon where they make it way too sweet, but I like mixing in a bit of the burn and then a bit of the smoke, right? And that when you can really taste the wood due to the barrel. Oh man,
I'm all about scotch. I want
the scotch.
The peaty, smokiest, meanest stuff. I want to feel it warm my throat the whole way down and kind of burn.
I respect that, yeah.
We had a beer at our brewery that was a Scotch ale aged in Lefroy Scotch whiskey barrels.
Yes.
Oh, man. It was only for 5% of the population, but that 5% were happy.
I've had a Scotch aged ale as well. Really.
Yeah. They don't do that often.
No.
Yeah,
Good.
we got a
good.
beer aged in tequila barrels here too. We can try a little bit later.
Weird.
You get all the
Okay.
sweetness of the agave plant. It's really great.
Oh, dude, agave's so good.
Beer is good. We like
Yeah,
beer.
I like beer a lot. Yeah,
Oh.
shout outs to beer.
Shout outs to beer in general.
But yeah, you brought up a good point too about sort of the community being behind you. When I'm up there on stage, I remember one of the most stressful speedrunning things that ever happened to me was during a Warcraft 3 Undead campaign run. There's a mission where I needed something to stay alive, but I was like in an infinite loop of something like stunning the unit and then things like going in and killing it. And if that ended up happening, I could not finish the mission. However, what ended up happening was after I like backloaded like 3 times to try and it failed all times in a row, I just like literally like put my hand in my face like, oh my God, do I have to restart this? And I was like freaking out, right? Like all the nerves, all of the adrenaline, it just all rushing up. And so instead of finding a solution, you're right there. But have you met Augendrocker or Richard?
No.
Okay, he is one of the Ori fam, and he's on GDQ staff.
I might have partied with him and hugged him last night. I don't remember his name though.
He was sitting right behind me on couch. I remember nobody on couch was mic'd because I was doing all the commentary.
The one that's on the couch immediately behind you, or the second couch?
Not today, but yeah.
Okay, back then, yeah.
Yeah, back then.
Yeah.
But he was on the closest couch, right behind me, because I just usually put friends on the couch.
Sure. Because you want to do a lot of the commentary yourself too, because you want to explain what's going on.
Yeah, well, I'll get a little bit into that, but he just like he sat there, and then while I was doing this, he was like, "You fucking got this, man. Like you're doing a great job. You got this," is what he said to me. And I heard him, and then there I just closed my eyes, and that allowed me to like I'm almost crying, like think about this, because it was such a strong moment. But like that I was able to close my eyes, think of 5 different ways that I was able to resolve the situation that did not require me to restart the level. I tried the first one, it failed. I tried the second one, it worked, and I just kept going, man. And so like that's community, dude. You're absolutely right. Like that is why I'm here, and them having my back, and them all being on that couch and the back couch and the full first row in the audience and maybe part of the second row, right? Like that's where they were today, and like I felt that, and I knew they were there, and I could hear them laughing and having a good time with me, and that's like there's nothing better than that, man.
It's good to have homies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Yeah.
Every year, you become more of a personality at these events. The memes are building on themselves.
Yeah.
I know you spoke
think so.
you spoke at a panel about commentating.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Hops.
Do you want to become more involved with GDQs? Do you want to have more of a role in another capacity?
I've been thinking a lot about that, and I think what I'm doing right now is exactly what I should be doing, which is I sort of knew that I had a good chance of getting into GDQ initially. Not that I was absolutely I didn't think I was going to get in. Like the first couple of years I ended up like all those submissions, I was like, this should not get in. I got into my first one I ever applied to, and then the third, and from there every other one. But like I think one of the best parts after my run is going back and rewatching the run and seeing Twitch chat.
Yeah.
Because I fucking love it, dude. It's so good because you just see them like posting all these emotes and stuff, and every bit of emotion that you or just feels that you give them, they give right back to you. So if you're like, oh my God, that was so awesome, and then they're just like, PogChamp, 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 like even if it wasn't that impressive, it's just like you could just like see the flood, and it's like it's so cool. But also I think speedrunning in general, there's a lot of focus of being like, is speedrunning esports? And it's like my stand, and I get this question, it's like, Muffin, do you think speedrunning is an esport? And my answer is, I think it can, but I don't give a fuck. I'm just here to learn and improve, and like we come here to raise money for charity. And I think like having runners and like personalities with that sort of focus on charity, like raising money for charity, getting pumped about getting people into speedrunning, and also just like supporting and celebrating all of the time and energy and effort that we all put into it. And then after the fact, being able to look back at what we just did in a week or for the past 4 months or 5 months or 6 months is is truly incredible. And so, do I see myself like fulfilling like a further role at some point? Maybe, but I mean, like if they think that me as a runner is going to help them raise as much money as possible and have good feels going around, if they think me hosting, if they think me helping out new hosts, which I've done, I've sat with a couple of new hosts that were uncomfortable, and I was like, "You're doing an amazing job," blah blah blah. If they think me at check-in desk, smiling, saying something completely fucking stupid, and laughing about it with somebody who is checking into the event, if they think that is beneficial for the event, I'm just gonna keep doing that, man. I'm happy where I am so much.
You're a wholesome motherfucking man.
Can I give you a hug?
Hey, hug break.
I appreciate that. Yeah, dude. I mean, I see people working so insanely hard, and if I can support that, because I truly do believe in that, then I will do what I can. I know my limitations, like the level of responsibility. I don't like being in control of other people. That just makes me feel stupidly uncomfortable. I don't like that power aspect, and I don't like that influence aspect as well. Like people are like, "Oh, Covert Muffin, like you're a famous speedrunner." I'm like, no, no, please.
You might not like the influence aspect, but that might be one of the reasons that why you would be such a good leader. Somebody
earlier this week, I don't know if I should name names or not, but he sat me down.
No one listens to this podcast. You can do it.
I sat down with him, right, and I expressed these things too, and he said, "You are completely underestimating how powerful it is to have somebody to go up on stage or just meet somebody at the event, smile, and laugh with them about something stupid. Like that is truly powerful."
Yeah.
And that's like that is so important. And like nobody had ever like said anything like that to me. And so I looked at that, and that's like I guess that's true. Me being a complete goofball is I guess really good, and
it not only raises money for charity, but it makes every one of the individual fans, or even if they're not fans, they're just people.
Sure.
Everyone wants to have a warm experience. They want to smile and they want to laugh.
Yeah. But I think if there's one thing I wished, kind of going off that, is that if I could take every single person that looks at me and be like, Covert Muffin is amazing, I would like them to also say something like, wow, the community did an amazing job bringing this run to the event, right? The community has put in so much work into the resources and stuff to make the speed run this amazing.
Yeah.
That he could even come here and do something like this, right?
The amount of people that are behind the scenes. This is my first time coming to a GDQ.
Yeah, sure.
It's bonkers. It's
insane.
There's so many monitors. There's so many wires. A million things happening back there. I saw someone putting makeup on J-Hobbs or just touching up his face before they started broadcasting. I was like, oh, wow. Didn't think about that.
Yes.
The Power Up Audio people.
I fucking love Kevin, dude. And
I don't know them individually, but it's phenomenal.
You should meet them if you can. They're super chill.
Because they're in charge of the music too, right?
Yep.
I heard a Portal 2 Cave Johnson song about lemons. I just need to write a thank you note to them about that.
Good.
Yeah. Good. Oh, they're knocking it out of the park. Yeah, there's so many people that are coming together to make this happen, and you're right.
Yeah, dude.
A lot of people just want to talk about, oh, Spike Vegeta was over there. It's like, well, that's because there was 1,000 other people over there.
I think that's honestly good, like having those sort of like personalities or like mascots sort of a thing, or like
absolutely
powerhouses that is very beneficial, especially to an event as large as GDQ. I think that you mentioned earlier that is like something that is important, and I agree with that.
Yeah. So I guess you like kind of your breakthrough speedrun where you got a big notice was Star Wars with the Star Wars series.
Yeah, Outcast. Outcast was the big one. Academy I ran in 2016, and then 2017 SGDQ I ended up running Outcast, and that was the big one. Like it doesn't have as many views on YouTube, but that was the best performance I've ever done on stage. It was phenomenal.
What draws you to that series particularly.
Oh
not Star Wars in general, but the Jedi Knight.
Would you like a 30-second, a 2-minute, or a 5-minute explanation?
We can do a 5-part podcast series.
Dude,
we got time.
I could literally fucking talk about this run for hours, dude. It's like, holy shit. All right.
Well, start talking. I'll stop you when it's too much.
All right. Okay. So if you are unfamiliar with speedrunning in general, the two things you need to do a speedrun is a goal and a constraint. Okay. Oftentimes the goal ends up being you're going to start a new game and finish and hit the end trigger of the game to bring you to the credits as fast as possible. So you start the game from a new file, get to the credits as fast as possible. Then the second thing that I mentioned you needed is a constraint. So you need the criteria. What are things that you're allowed to do? What are the things that you're not allowed to do? Yada, yada, yada. Okay? So in Jedi Knight Academy, it's probably one of the most complex speedruns that I've ever come across. We have exchange programs with other speed games that are like equally complex, like Mirror's Edge. If you don't know Mirror's Edge speedrunning, look it up. It's probably one of the most insane and one of the most pounded speed games of all time on PC. Like it's truly incredible. But so where Jedi Knight Academy is concerned is it's a Quake 3 engine-based game. So if you are unfamiliar with Quake games in general or Quake speedrunning, there's something known as strafe jumping. And so what a movement-based speed game is the grand majority of the difficulty is the consistency of being able to progress quickly through the game. So there's different movement tech. Celeste has a dash mechanic, and there's like 5 different ways to dash.
Yeah.
And depending how you sort of structure that, you can go through certain screens faster or slower, right? So it's a movement-based speed game because it's all about how you're dashing through the map and utilizing that.
And you get that with the Jedi Knight games.
Correct, yes. So the strafe jumping, what you end up doing is you use W plus A or W plus D. So A and D are strafe keys that causes you to sidestep from side to side, and W causes you to move forward. So W plus A causes you to walk in a diagonal. W plus D is the same, but it's a forward diagonal.
I love that that's in so many different speedrunning games where we can't run forward to go fast.
Yes.
So there's just people like running sideways extra quick.
Right. So the whole thing with it is the last component to this is that while you're in the air, while you're not touching ground, if you curl your mouse into that diagonal that you're doing it, so if you're doing W plus D, you're moving up and to the right. And if you're going through air and turn to the right while you're doing that, that causes you to actually build speed. And it does make sense. It's physics that I won't go into, but it's like that's
I know you could though.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. There's an amazing dissertation from this physicist who like did his entire like thesis based off of Quake movement and like talking about it. There's a lot of really crazy shit that comes into it.
Yeah.
And so that's the base movement system is like trying to stay in the air for as long as possible and build speed by doing this strafe jump feature. However, it's kind of hard to do over a podcast. But if you think about it, if you think about right in front of you, you just put your hand down on the table, right? And you draw a line, I don't know, like along your middle finger from the knuckle all the way to the end of your finger. That is a straight line.
Yep.
Okay. However, when you're strafe jumping, you're actually curling off. So you're curving around in a circle motion. So in order to get from point A to point B in the shortest duration, you have to do this like wave motion. So you have to switch how you're strafing. So not only from WA to WD, but also your mouse direction at the correct time. Mess up the timing, like you're pressed WA, but you're still curling to the right, you lose a shit ton of speed. You lose all your speed.
Yeah.
Right? Yada, yada, yada. If you touch the ground for too long, you lose all your speed. Right? So there's this like innate complexity with getting from point A to point B in any single situation. Not only that, but there's about like 10 other things that come into play. One of them, and why Jedi Knight Academy stands out compared to any other Quake-based movement game, is something known as velocity reduction on ground impact.
This is why I called you the speedrunning scientist in the intro.
Yes. This is just known as VRGI for short. So VRGI is just what I'm going to call it from here on out.
Okay.
And so what this means is that anytime you land on the ground, you immediately lose 50% of your speed. Down to base walking speed.
Yeah.
So all this speed you're building from strafe jumping, you just lose.
Yeah.
So why is this interesting? Well, if you jump from higher to lower ground within a certain range of height.
If you have the high ground.
Yep. And you jump to the nicely done.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
I got it.
Yeah. And then you jump to the lower ground. VRGI does not actually trigger. So you completely mitigate it and you do not lose the speed.
It's Obi-Wan's trick.
Yeah, exactly. So the whole goal with Academy is not only getting from point A to point B, which is already stupidly complex because you're curving all fucking around all over the place, but also you have to like consider jumping from higher to lower ground. And so like the routing, I can't tell you how many times a single segment that lasted like 4 seconds ended up changing, just all because we looked at different slopes to jump on, or like different portions of the ground to jump on that saves a few tenths of a second here or a few tenths of a second there. And it's just like it's so crazy. And that's not even the most like complex part. There's about like a bajillion other things that I could go into detail about
on the next episode. Just
yeah. So why? So kind of like tying this back in. The reason why I wanted to go into a bit detail is just to show that it does get complex, and it gets even more complex even quicker. But that being said, with the whole strafe jump mechanic in these Quake games, you end up like spending so much time with the routing. You spend up so much time. Like trying to prepare yourself, but not only that, but doing this consistently in a run is stupid, right? Like actually attempting to do something like this consistently, where even if you go a tiny bit too far to the right, if your mouse, if you're looking, your start looking direction was a little bit too far to the left, if it was too far to the right, your entire route is now fucked up, right? If you turn a little bit too much in it for a tenth of a second, right, in a certain component. And so having all these things tied together and trying to actually like compensate for your mistakes in real time is what makes these speedruns the most highest skill cap speedrun out of anything I've ever seen in ever run. So like trying to make up for your mistakes, and like a PB is always going to have a ton of mistakes. Like your best time ever will always have a ton of mistakes. But it's people who can compensate for that and be able to recover from those as quickly as possible. Like coming to a marathon and giving an estimate saying, I will finish this game in this time, right? In this amount of time. Like that is, I still can't wrap my mind around how that's possible. Like with something that complex.
Yeah.
But it is. We still do that.
You're still doing it. And
somehow.
You're...
I don't know how.
You've been knocking it out of the park so far. Eventually it's like, maybe we'll find out. You're so much of a Sith Lord.
How did you? Oh man,
that
where did
you
find this from?
You had someone in your community put a red lightsaber modded into the game, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So this is for Jedi. How the fuck did you find this out, man? That's so impressive. Yeah. So for Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast. So I guess I should preface this. In Academy, you can choose your lightsaber color, and it just saves that color for the rest of the run. And Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast, the game before, that I have run also at a GDQ, the lightsaber always reverts back to blue.
Stupid blue lightsabers?
So
no one wants that.
So I actually, my best time ever, known as a personal best, or a PB for short, is
peanut butter.
Yeah, peanut butter.
Love it.
My peanut butter.
Sorry, guys. I get excited about peanut butter.
Woo. I love peanut butter, man.
Shit's good.
Yeah, it's so good.
I had a peanut butter and jelly sour beer. They call it a pastry sour.
What?
One of the top 3 beers I've ever had.
Seriously?
I don't see new beers anymore in 5 years of being in the brewery industry. New beer.
Was it like the salt or the oil that did it for the flavor?
It was all peanut butter on the nose. You didn't get a lot of flavor, but then like you get all of the smell and then just big old jelly jam flavor, and then super tart finish on the way down.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you had some like donut beers before?
We're brewing one right now at the brewery I work at. Yeah, they had a shitload of donuts and they were like mashing them up to put in the beer. Oh
yeah, dude.
I think it's called glazed over, but my thought was glazed and confused. a lot of pun possibilities there. We were talking about personal best.
Yeah. So we're talking about the red lightsaber stuff.
Yeah.
So the PB. On the leaderboard right now for Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast for me is not actually my fastest time I've done it. because the reason is
You have a modded lightsaber.
I have to mod the game in order to be able to keep that red lightsaber throughout it. I just like the red lightsaber, man. I'm also like kind of known for doing like silly stuff in runs that intentionally lose me time, but it just makes it more entertaining for me.
Yeah. It's about putting on a good show.
Yeah. But we can't allow those runs to be submitted to the leaderboard because the modded lightsaber could actually change about like 4 different things in the game that we don't know about. And so I'm no longer running the same game as what is vanilla.
So you have the record in that version of the game?
No,
someone else has the red
yeah.
lightsaber one. They beat you?
Oh no, the red
lightsaber version. You were the record holder, man. Congrats.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Because it helps so much.
Speaking of Star Wars, what are your thoughts on the franchise currently?
In what regard? There's a lot of thoughts.
Well,
there.
let's just go right into like Force Awakens: Last Jedi. What did you think of the Last Jedi?
So I see all of the problems that people had with the movies. Like I have some friends who are actually really gifted in terms of like critiquing stuff and like getting really down in like deciding what makes something good or not and sort of a thing. And they fucking hated the new movies that have been coming out.
Yeah.
Right. And and then it was really nice to discuss with them to be like, okay, so what were the elements? Where they're like, oh, like this scene in particular. And like these different elements because of this other stuff that happened, yada yada yada. And so like I fully like can get behind and see like where certain problems were coming from. I enjoyed it overall.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie. I will watch every single Star Wars movie that comes out.
It'll take a real dud for me to not want to see it. I was super happy with Solo. I went in with lower expectations. And I had a great time with it.
Yeah. I think it's kind of like the same sort of effect for me where like Harry, this is a weird example. Harry Potter, right? The books versus the movies.
Yeah.
They have similarities, but they're completely different. And so like that sort of separation for that, and also like the new Star Wars movies from old movies and the prequels and the extended universe and yada yada yada.
Yeah. Any other Star Wars games you are thinking about running? Or is that you've gotten the 2 that you like? And do you do the Old Republic a little bit too?
I did Star Wars: The Old Republic, not Knights. So there's 2 games. So there's Knights of the Old Republic, which is the super old RPG.
The Xbox.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. But I did the MMO RPG with leveling from 1 to 10 as fast as possible. Just for fun, honestly. And it's a very easy speed game. Like if somebody came up to me and be like, what's a free video game that I could just speedrun and like learn it in less than 2 hours, I'd be like Star Wars: The Old Republic. Like it's super chill and it's like super easy. But it's a lot of really fun sort of like crunching of numbers and like calculating EXP amounts in like certain regards.
Yeah.
I pushed out like a fully commentated video sort of going into all the subtle nuances that I'm very happy with. Because it actually explains why I do enjoy it, and it's because of all those strategy reasons. So that was nice to finally push out. But in terms of other games, I've done Dark Forces, which is sort of the prelude to those Jedi Knight games that I'm known for, and that's a really fun speed game. So I definitely intend to go back to that and improve my times, especially on the leaderboard, because the leaderboard is like a few minutes behind my actual PB. Yada yada yada. Yeah.
Did you really get pulled over on the way to the airport the other day?
Yes.
You gotta stop speedrunning in real life, man.
Yeah. So I was coming home from work, and this was Friday, and I was taking a bus Friday night to get to Logan Airport in Boston for a fly out to Minneapolis here. What ended up happening?
You're trying to get your PB to the airport.
Yeah. I was just very excited, man. I'd been really, excuse me. I'd been like super stressed about work the past week because I just started a new job, and that I won't go into details about. But it sort of like everything turned out okay, and they told me I was doing a lot better of a job than they thought that had been expected of me, and I wasn't expecting that. So I was really excited about that. I was really excited that I get to fly out here and do this for a week.
Yeah.
Right. And so policemen pulled me over, right? As I was getting on the highway, and he pulls me over. And he's like, "Do you realize how fast you were going?"
How fast were you going?
I was like, "Yeah, officer." Like, I'm the type of person when I interact with
my
policemen,
VRGI requires that I. How fast were you going, man?
I was going at least like 70 something in a 60 mile per hour.
Okay.
And so it's like while I was merging on, and so they saw me immediately. They just straight up pulled me over because there wasn't like any traffic. And so like it's like when you're alone and they see you speeding, it's like, okay, well, we got you. And so they pulled me over. I rolled down my window. It was like license and registration. It was like, absolutely, sir. Like I'm super respectful. I actually super appreciate public officers and stuff like that. Like they do amazing work.
Yeah.
And like it's really clear when you get an officer that's like there to protect people and like help them and make sure like people stay safe. So I'm like, yeah, absolutely, officer. And I don't know, I don't think you saw, but I was super dressed up. Like I had a vest, I had a tie, I had a dress shirt. Like I had the full works. For like business casual. And so he pulls me down. He's like, "Oh, like I see you're like all dressed up." I was like, "Yes, sir." And then
I'm going to speedrun a video game.
Yeah. He was like, "You're coming back from work, right?" I'm like, "Yes, sir." And then so I hand him the stuff. He goes back, he checks it, and then he comes back to ask me some more questions before like fully running this stuff. Like he kind of like didn't go fully back to his vehicle. He's like, "Where were you going today?" And I was like, I'm going home and I'm finishing packing and then I'm getting on a flight to go play video games to raise money for charity, sir. And then he was like, "You're doing what?" I was like, "Yeah, dude, it's this thing called like Summer Games Done Quick. And we do like 2 a year. And I'm a performer. I'm a host for the overall event. And I'm also a volunteer to welcome people and like get them excited about it. And people just fly in from all around the world. They watch from all over the world, and we raise tons of money for charity." And he's like, "Oh, like wow, how much do you usually raise?" And then I told him we hit 2.3 mil from AGDQ, or like slightly under that. And he was like, "I don't believe you." And I was like, "No, seriously, like go back and Google it."
You showed him an entire run of Jedi Knight Academy on your phone.
Yeah, like right there. I was like sitting there for another 30 minutes. No. And so he was like, "All right, well, I'm going to check this out. Make sure it's legit." So he went back to his car. He fucking Googled it. And he looked
That's so awesome,
yeah,
man.
he looked it up. He was like, "This is actually a thing." And he's like, where he asked me one more question. He's like, where is that? I'm like, "Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'm flying out of Logan Airport in about like 10 hours. And he was like, "Yeah, okay." Like he trusts me. And then we talked for another like 5 minutes about the event overall. And so he probably watched my run today. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, he told me he was gonna run my plates again if this stuff was wrong, instead of just giving me a warning. And so he let me off with a warning, and yeah, all because I was raising money for charity.
That's amazing.
Yeah, dude.
Why are you a Covert Muffin?
Oh, the screen name.
I'm fairly new to the speedrunning community. I've only been really diving deep for 2 months, and I'm sure these are questions that every speedrunner gets a million times, but it's new to me, and a lot of our listeners aren't familiar with speedrunning, so.
Honestly, like, also part of the whole dig is, like, science of speedrunning. You explain the same thing about, like, 50 times.
Sure.
Like, you explain it so much. And so it doesn't bother me at all. In fact, I'm happy to share. So, like, Day 9 TV, once again, right, the whole Fun Day Monday, StarCraft 2 stuff. Like during this Fun Day Monday, these like silly games of user submitted games, like he would tell these really funny stories and just like cast these really funny games and like laugh his ass off while people are doing ridiculous stuff that he demanded they do. And then one of his skits was talking about how to create an epic sounding screen name.
Covert Muffin.
Yeah, and so it's descriptor followed by a noun, right? And that's it. It's just that's it. And so but for the descriptor, you have to pick something that sounds like cool and mysterious, right? It's like shadow or like dark.
Yeah.
Right? And then the second thing of like a noun is some just pick a noun. Like the noun doesn't actually matter, and that was the funny thing. So it was like, I don't know, Shadow Seeker, right? Like, okay, so who looks for shadows, right?
I seek the shadow.
Yep.
It's Batman. This is Batman.
Yeah, we're Batman. We're Batman now. So So for me, it was like, okay, what did I eat for breakfast? Because the noun doesn't matter. Well, I had a muffin today. Cool. Okay. So there we go. And it's like, okay, so what are muffins? And they're like, well, they're pretty quiet in general because they don't speak or yell. And that's like kind of the opposite of me. Sure, let's go with it. So I went with silent muffin. I was like, that doesn't really sound good to say. So I went with some other words. I just picked up a thesaurus and like looked up words. And I was like, Covert Muffin, and it's like, okay, sounds good.
I know when Xbox Live came out for the first time.
Oh yeah.
If you didn't have your own gamer tag, they would assign you one, and it was always that. It would be a random adjective and then a noun. And I had a friend, I forget, it was something like lumpy potato. It was like, that's what they gave me. You couldn't think of anything better.
Oh, that's so good, dude. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, if that came up for me, yeah, sure, that's it. I'm in.
So last night, J Hobbs brought me over to the Ori Ori party,
Ori fam.
the Ori fam.
Oh yeah.
And what a lovely, wonderful group of people. I sat with them on the second couch today, but I had to sheepishly admit in front of all of them that I've never played the game. So could you do me a favor?
Sure.
And for our listeners, just give us a quick little reason why it's such a great game and why they should play it.
So you're talking about Red Alert 3, right?
No, Ori.
Oh, Ori.
Yes, about Ori.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, because yes.
So the reasons I would play Ori is if you like a fully hashed out game and you're okay with platformers and taking lots of deaths, but you're in it for a really emotional and moving story. That's not really done by text much. There is some text in there, but it's really through like the cutscenes and the art and like the oh man, the like the soundtrack alone. Just literally, you don't even have to play the game. You don't have to buy it. Just go onto YouTube and search for Ori and the Blind Forest soundtrack.
Okay.
Just listen to it. It's like an hour and a half long, and then you'll play the game. So if you have the money free, do it. If you don't have the money free, don't listen to the soundtrack because you would just instantaneously buy the game. But the art in the game is absolutely stunning. I think you talked a bit about that with a few people last night, if I remember.
Probably.
But like the actual visuals in the game, like the background sceneries and stuff, they're paintings. Like they could have painted that shit and like put it in a museum and people would be like weeping over it. It's like it's so astoundingly beautiful of a game. Not only that, but also so the game itself is a 2D Metroidvania platformer. So platformer is you jump from point A to point B, and it's 2 dimensions, right? Up and then left and right. So that being said, the whole concept of the game is based around something known as a Metroidvania, which is off of Super
exploration-based RPG.
Correct. So
if people are listening, they don't know what a Metroidvania is, then why are you listening to this podcast?
Yeah. So
go buy Metroid and Castlevania if you haven't yet.
Yeah, exactly. Symphony of the Night. Yeah. And so the whole concept is that you will end up getting a skill, and that skill will unlock other pickups on the map as well as different portions of the map. And so those skills and those utilization of the skills is just so well balanced. It's so good. And so not only is it an amazing speed game, but it's also just an amazing casual playthrough. Every single person, including my sister, who most recently became a gamer, she wasn't before, picked up like super insanely hard games. She picked up Ori and the Blind Forest and loved it.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved it.
So go pick up that game. It'll probably be on sale soon because the sequel's coming.
Yes, February.
Is it true that Neil deGrasse Tyson said you talk too loud?
Wait, where do you find this stuff? Oh, man. Oh, I know why. Yeah, that panel. Okay. Yes. Yeah, he did. Yep. So in undergrad, so I majored in chemistry, and I was a few credits shy of also triple majoring in math and physics as well. And so I'm a science nerd. I am a nerd. I love science, dude. And so Neil deGrasse Tyson, they got him to come and give a talk because he's very active in terms of wanting to go influence people and get them thinking about science in a good way.
Yeah,
right. He
in a wholesome real way.
Yes,
I love Neil deGrasse Tyson because
me too.
He learned from Sagan.
Yes,
and
he did.
Sagan is my ultimate homeboy.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Sagan for life, dog.
Yeah, so he came to our undergrad and he did 2 talks. The first talk he did for science majors only. So people who were in the hard sciences.
There's a lot of poetry majors that were pissed off.
Yep. They were still welcome to attend the second one. The second one was completely open to everybody. It was in a bigger venue too. But the first one was for science majors alone, and then he fielded questions at the end. And so, as we discussed earlier, I get really bad stage fright. I have really bad nerves. And so, as these 2 guys in this room know, I have a very loud voice.
The gain is turned down.
Yeah. I have a very resonant voice, and it's very,
I have
very
the
loud.
same problem too, man. Everyone
Yeah.
hears me a mile away.
Yep. And so, like with that, when I get nervous and when I get like really adrenaline packed,
Yeah.
that my filters go off.
Yeah.
Right? My filters completely go off, and so it gets even fucking louder.
And you asked Neil. You asked Neil a question.
And so I asked Neil the question. I remember exactly the question. The question itself was, what field of science do you think the next major revolutionary discovery will be in? And then I tied it back to the most recent discoveries that ended up like being absolutely like influential and insanely like life-changing for people. And so he stood there for a few seconds, and then the first thing he said was, I have never had somebody be more enthusiastic to actually yell a question at me in my life. And everybody just like burst out in laughter. I'm sitting there like going deeper into my seat, like turning bright fucking red.
He loved your enthusiasm.
Oh yeah,
though.
no, he did. And he's like, that's a charm. And then he said like after that, he's like, that's a charming thing. Don't lose that. Like after people understood he was making I mean, everybody knew he was making a joke, and I did too. And so he said, and then he was like, that's a charming thing. Don't lose that. And then he stood there for a few more seconds to think about it, and his answer was like astrophysics and astrobiology. And he said that the interdisciplinary, which means taking 2 different fields of science and putting them together, which is actually a very difficult thing to do for reasons we won't get into.
That's another podcast.
Yeah, that's another one. We're gonna have like 5 podcasts.
We have our own series, you and me, man. I'm into it.
So he mentioned that would be the next big thing, because they're discovering so much every single time. Because technology, when they first went to the moon, right, was like on a floppy disk, right? Like,
have you seen?
kilobytes.
You need to see a documentary called "For All Mankind."
I have not heard of that. I will look it up.
Yeah, so there's all the footage from when they went to the moon, all the different times, and they only ever used like these 5 different clips for the newsreels or whatever, and the rest of the footage was just sitting there not being
I heard
used.
about that.
And this
No, I heard
documentary
about that.
filmmaker asked, "Hey, can I use this?"
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's done as the human experience, so it's not showing like interviews where you'd see the person's face. He
Okay.
did interviews, and you just
Okay.
get the voices. You never know who's talking. It's just images of the astronauts going to space and other astronauts explaining the experience, the whole thing from leaving to when they landed on the moon. And you get the footage of them just goofing off and like singing songs, and them just running on the moon and singing songs about skipping. It's the joy that
Yeah.
these humans had, which you didn't get. You had the great lines for the news, but you didn't get the silly apes running around on another planet.
Yeah.
Check out For All Mankind. It's really good.
I'll do it. That's awesome. Cause that truly is like that science. That's like people. So science is really fucking hard to get into, man. It's like, it's intense. There's a lot to know initially to be able to actually explain why we know what we know.
Yeah, it can
extremely
be overwhelming.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like that beginning knowledge base, which is impossible to communicate to people who don't have that initial knowledge base, but somehow they are expected to have to do so, which is important. I do think that is extremely important. But so like the messages and the impact that you send, like this is exactly why like I call speedrunning the science of video gaming, is because when you go up to a performance, it's impossible.
Yeah. I know that,
convey that.
Carl Sagan was given some grief by some scientists back in the day that don't dumb it down for them. people should have to deal with it on our terms with these scientific explanations. And he said, no,
That's
it's
impossible.
useless if
That's
we don't try and make it understandable to everybody.
Yeah.
And the cosmos had a huge effect on my life. And that's when I've read most of Sagan's books, and I got really into science for a while too.
Good for you.
Yeah. And so you're a scientist by nature.
Sure.
And you've called speedrunning the science of video games.
It is. It absolutely is, yeah.
What are your thoughts on the rapid advancements of technologies and the effect it is having on us as a human race?
That's an interesting question. I think the biggest thing is it's creating a whole new demographic of people for being able to become stupidly fucking amazing at something and have it actually be respected both sympathetically and empathetically. So sympathy is the you see something and you say, oh, that seems like it sucks. Whereas empathy
I understand why
I
that
see
sucks.
that I understand why it sucks, exactly.
Yeah.
So with people who are professional gamers, like way back when, right? You think of like the heroes from the 90s. I don't even know any fucking names off the top of my head.
Nicolas Cage?
Sure, Nicolas Cage. Let's roll with that.
I don't know. Okay.
Good enough.
Yeah.
But so Nicolas Cage, being a pinball wizard that he is, right?
Yes.
That is a local demographic, and that is people who are interested in pinball is probably maybe half a dozen people at most. Maybe upwards of 100 to 200 people if he goes to some pinball convention and they ask him to perform and stuff like that and show off his talents, right? So with the rapid advancement of technology, something that people have been passionate about for a long time, not only are they able to reach an audience more feasibly and more like readily, to absorb that content
immediately.
Yeah, immediately.
They can, in the blink of an eye. I could Instagram this interview if I want to do a live one right now, and it'll reach across the entire planet.
Yeah, and they could interact with those people too to be able to like have a further.
There'd be 35 FWAHAHAHAs and 5 Brad shut ups.
God damn it.
Take a bath.
Yeah. But like on top of that, not just that like sort of accessibility of the content itself, but these people themselves that are passionate about learning and improving in this fashion, they have that fuel for themselves to continue to do so. So famous basketball players, famous sports, right? There's such an easy comparison to draw between real life sports and people who are professional video game players, and how are they comparable? Are they just as impressive as each other? Yada yada yada. But it's like those questions come up now because people have that confidence and they have that drive and that
the
passion.
Community.
Yeah. And so I think that not only are so many more people who are readily wanting to pull in that content for themselves of watching people be this fucking amazing, but also on top of that, you are inspiring double, if not triple, if not quadruple, if not quintuple the number of people that otherwise would consider spending their time doing something else. Right?
It's so mind-boggling that the Library of Alexandria is in everyone's pockets, and they have access to the wealth of human knowledge.
Yeah, that's an interesting.
And it's unfortunate though that a lot of people, they seem to. I mean, I got social media, and I jump on that thing more often than I should. It's trying to filter through the content, which I think is a real struggle for us as we move forward, as we things get smaller, things get faster. Are you wary of artificial intelligence? I feel like that's around the corner, according to the concept of Moore's law. Things. I mean, they predicted by 2020 we should be getting some artificial intelligence.
I think I am more scared that people are going to try and push something out that is an incomplete form of artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Too soon and too readily to try and be the first on the market to be able to to make that money, right? Because a huge part of science is actually getting enough money to learn and to figure out these things, because that stuff's expensive, man. These contracts are millions and millions, if not billions of dollars to try and fund this research.
You have to be the first one if you want to make the money.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a gross feeling that it's kind of like that.
Yeah,
it's not about
I don't like
it's not about the joy of discovery. It's these corporations that were needing to be the first ones there. Yeah, that's truly unfortunate.
Yeah, and so I think in terms of artificial intelligence directly, is that my hope is that either the government steps in, they're just like, okay, no, we're not allowing this to do it. I mean, already like self-driven cars is like off the market because that is an infrastructure restructuring that is just infeasible. Like that's not going to happen in our lifetimes, most likely.
Yeah.
Like it's just because the whole change to infrastructure can't function everywhere. It could happen probably in a few places, especially in the desert, but for self-driving cars, yeah, it's not
way too many variables.
No. Yeah.
I forget the formula that proves that there must be life out there outside of our solar system.
Yeah, I forget the name.
Names. It's beautiful though. It's still infinitesimal, but with the scope of the universe, it's almost it has to happen.
Right. Oh yeah.
So I believe. I mean, they're out there. Do you believe that we possibly have been visited here before?
I don't fucking know, man. I can't. I have no idea one way or the other. I can't tell.
Yeah, me neither. It's just fun to think about.
Yeah, it's pretty fun to think about. I mean, the Protoss, yeah, sure, why not?
Was there a specific moment that solidified science as a real passion of yours? Was there a person or a teacher?
I think my late father, for sure, like really got me into that, and it wasn't like directly about science itself. My family has been like very, very intense in terms of like pushing you to work like super hard. Like my brother's a super genius, like probably top 100 smartest people in the nation in terms of his age group of a generation.
He's 2.
Huh?
Just kidding. I said he's 2 years old.
No,
very
I'm
smart.
I'm not up there. But like, I hope he doesn't hear this because he doesn't like hearing stuff like that. But I do truly, I believe that. And my sister's super gifted in hard work and is extremely passionate about like putting forward her best effort, and is also brilliant in her own regard, and is very intelligent. And so I come from a family that's extremely hardworking from that. Like single mom raised us, like 3 of us, was super in debt, was a high school teacher, but still came to every single soccer game, every single basketball game.
Yeah.
And like made sure that we finished every homework assignment, every project, studied for every exam. Like my mom was a fucking hero, and she is truly a driving force for my work ethic, especially in speedrunning, with being able to do that full time. Like I don't think I've taken the only time I take a break is when I don't have access to my computer.
Yeah.
Like honestly, that's the only time I take a break. But so that being said, my dad, my late father, who sadly passed away while I was in high school due to Alzheimer's, ended up giving this sort of a feel of how do I say this? Well, I guess I can tell a story. So we would go out to my grandfather's water, like hydropower plant, which is like a dam on a river that has hydropower, and like check water levels and like check water pH values and like stuff like that, and like do other things to like check stuff. And that it was just like routine things. It wasn't like he wouldn't actually go into the science with me and stuff, but he was like that active hands-on thing. And so like my dad really loved the really silly, goofy little like nuances, like flipping your phone or something like that in your hand and being able to like do it consistently.
180, 360.
Yeah, exactly. And like intentionally trying different things. And so skipping stones was one of those things. And so he would be like, oh yeah, like you can totally skip a stone like 2 to 3 times. Like that's a great thing to do. And like you can do that. And then like celebrating that after you accomplish that. Okay. And then so after I did that, I was like, I did it, like in my like 8-year-old's like super young,
pure joy,
still a tiny voice because I hadn't hit puberty yet. Like I did it.
I want to imagine you're laughing a higher pitch. I'm gonna tweak that later. It would be more that tee.
Yeah, sure. And so it was, looking up to him like from my youth and being like, all right, I did it. What's next? And he would say, what's 3 + 1?
Oh shit! I didn't practice for this part of the interview.
Right? So what's 3 plus 1? And then that locked into my brain, right? What's 3 plus 1? What's 4 plus 1? What's 5 plus 1? What's 6 plus 1?
What's more than a billion?
Yeah, right?
Is there more than a billion?
Yeah.
Yeah, just those concepts, those questions.
Yeah. So like that, my dad was one to mince words in terms of jokes and wit and stuff like that. And so those overarching like phrases were super influential. But if I had to say like my positivity and sort of outlook, it would come from him. Do you mind if I share one more story like for that regard?
Please.
Okay, yeah, sure. Okay, so the other thing about my dad was he was any single person he met, didn't matter who they were, he would find some way to genuinely appreciate them. I'm not talking about somebody who's just like well-mannered and being like please and thank you and like stuff like that, but he would see that person, he would see what they're trying to do or see what they're experiencing, and try and genuinely connect with that every single time.
Absolutely.
Every single time. And that's like that sort of like empathy. He gave me my concept of empathy versus sympathy, and why sympathy is fucking bullshit and why empathy is like the best fucking thing ever.
Yeah.
And so like when I come up to somebody at an event, they're like, Covert Muffin, like I love your stuff, right? You hear a ton of messages like that if you end up being successful in a regard.
I hope someone compliments me someday. We'll see.
but
Brad, you have a nice beard, but what about like me personally?
Tell me more.
Yeah.
But like actually like taking in details of a person or like that experience, right?
Yeah.
Like them telling me they're taking time out of their day, right? They could be off watching a run. They could be off drinking beers and being on some podcast, right? They could be off going out to a restaurant, but instead they wait for 10 fucking minutes until after I'm done giving everybody hugs, and they feel confident. They feel confident enough to come up to me and tell me that they appreciate what I do and that inspires them. Like, are you kidding me, man? Like, how does somebody like work? That's so insane. So like that understanding and that comprehension.
Yeah.
He gifted me that.
Yeah.
And so like, why does like repeating answers and like re-explaining stuff like my screen name, like where that comes from? Why does that stuff not get old? It's because I know you're genuinely trying to like actually understand something about me.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's the case, then I am always 100% happy to meet that face for face. And so those people who come up to me and say kind things, you better fucking believe I'm gonna shove it right back in their face, man.
Absolutely.
And appreciate them just as much.
My mom kind of taught me a very similar philosophy to approaching people in general. When I bartend, the first thing I like to say to people is welcome friends. And and people will say, "Oh, I didn't know we were friends." Well, everyone's my friend until they prove otherwise. I want to believe that we're going to have a good experience. And even if someone is having a bad day or they're a dick about it, they're having a rough time. Something's wrong. I'm not going to compound it on them. Like, I'll do what I can to make it better, and I'll give them the space they need.
And like off of that, like if somebody's being a dick to you, like it's for a couple different it could be for a number of different reasons, but like you can tell when somebody's directly trying to be a douche to you just for the sake of like being a douche, or like try and bring down your own persona versus somebody who's just having a really fucking bad day, dude. Like it's really clear when it's on me versus them. And so like being able to separate those out is so nice. Yeah.
What is your favorite scientific fact?
Oh shit, the permittivity of free space, dude. I fucking love that constant, man.
The permittivity of free space.
Yeah, just look it up. It's like
I guess we don't have time for all of it.
No, it's fine. It's like one of those things that comes up and it like shows up in so many different weird things.
Okay. I'll look it up.
Lightning round?
Look it up. Not quite.
Okay.
In the rare instance that you're not gaming or streaming or what do you like to do for hobbies outside of everything that you're kind of known for?
Honestly, like I've had this question asked to me a few times, and I've given unsatisfactory answers in my own mind. And so I think the best answer is I just always do me. So I love learning and improving, and I love like appreciating things. Like it's fun for me. Like when I went off on your tattoos the other night, I was like really appreciating like all the different like elements and stuff that went into them, and why it's like really why they look really fucking good.
Tattoos are their story. Everyone's got a story behind their tattoos. Even if it's I was drunk in this city that one day, so I got SpongeBob. That's
hell yeah.
That's an experience. Sometimes you wait 10 years to get a Stanley Kubrick sleeve.
Yeah. So what do I do? Well, it's just sort of a further extension off of that. I honestly love cooking. I
want you to cook for me sometime. That sounds dope, dude.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
If you take cooking as seriously as speedrunning, oh shit.
Yeah, sure, dude. Let's do it sometime.
Nice.
Let's do it if I ever visit you.
Maybe I'll come to Boston.
Oh shit, yeah, I'm like an hour away from Boston. Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm down to party.
Hell yeah. Fuck yeah. The other stuff I do, I was really passionate about fitness until I blew out my knees. I did a bunch of Tough Mudders, which are like 10
nice,
to 12,
man.
Yeah, 10 to 12 mile runs that have like 20 to 26 obstacles.
I've been looking into doing my first one.
Seriously?
I ran my first half marathon this year, and I want to do the next thing.
Do it. It's so good. It's worth it. I blew out my knee at a Tough Mudder though. So take your injury seriously, man.
Yeah, I did my half marathon, and my boss said, "Are you sure you want to work the day afterwards?" I said, "I'll be fine."
Oh hell yeah.
I wasn't.
No,
I was not fine. Mistake.
When you're like really fucking hungover and like you try and like be productive and stuff, it's like you're losing these different components of your brain, of your body, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
When you go and run a fucking half marathon or like do a Tough Mudder, you can't do anything, dude, for the next day or two. It is.
Talking is hard for some reason, even.
Yeah,
all of it
honestly,
is. All of it is.
Drawing synapses and
all
shit.
I can do is order pizza and play Mario, and Mario is tough even.
Yeah, even like that's why I'm laughing. That's pretty impressive.
So before we get to the rapid fire silly questions segment,
sure.
Where can we find you? Where can our viewers look up what you do? Drop your stuff here.
Covert_Muffin. So that's literally it. If you
is that just Twitch, Twitter?
Yeah, it's my Twitch. Twitter is just Covert Muffin, no underscore. I mean, honestly, just Google my name and you can find shit.
You can do a deep dive and find the shit that he doesn't think you're going to talk about too.
Yeah, that's about it. There's a bunch of Reddit threads. There's GDQ VODs is a good place to look. My streams in general are just pretty chill. I'm never going to be a professional streamer. I know this. So if I ever stream, it's because I want to like either interact with people or I want to share something with them. And so my titles usually reflect what I'm doing, what I'm working on. Coming out of GDQ, I'm going to be working on a Warcraft 3 all campaigns run because Night Elf got rejected for this GDQ.
Bastards.
And so that's fine. I understand. Fuck them. No. And so I'm going to be working on that and then transitioning into GDQ submissions because submissions open in six and a half weeks. Okay. So got to get on that.
I got to get my shit together.
Yeah.
I've never speedran before.
Yeah, so if you want to find me, just Google Covert Muffin and it'll come up.
And you can, of course, find us, Hair of the Dogcast. We are at Hot Dogcast on Twitter, Hair of the Dogcast on Instagram. Myself, I am at Loaf of White Brad on Twitter or Loaf of White Brad. Yeah,
good.
They already had Good Cop, Brad Cop, so I had to go to the second one.
I appreciate that.
Dude, Brad puns are fun. They're butter spread over too much bread.
Puns in general are just amazing.
When I found out my toaster wasn't waterproof, I was shocked.
I hate you.
Oh, yes. So you can find us there. So just going to do some rapid fire questions.
Sure.
Don't think about it too long. Favorite Keanu Reeves film?
Shit. Matrix.
Cats or dogs?
Cats.
Favorite Star Wars villain?
Oh, good one. Darth Revan.
What is better, Star Wars prequels or sequels?
Prequels.
Weirdest Star Wars game?
Oh shit. There's some really weird ones out there. I can't. Oh god. I can't pick one. Next question.
Pass.
Yeah.
Favorite sci-fi film outside of Star Wars?
Oh shit. What's the name? I'm so bad with names. Sci-fi.
I'm a film major. You can give me a hint. I might be able to help.
It was a movie.
Okay.
Sure. You know what? Let's just go Fifth Element.
Fifth Element. That's great.
That's a good one.
Favorite nonfiction book?
Nonfiction book. Oh, good one. My organic chemistry textbook. I actually really enjoyed it. No, take it back. The quantum mechanics one for physics. That was a really good book. That was even better.
Favorite fiction book?
Favorite Dresden Files, easily.
Favorite style of beer?
IPA.
Will you please tell me to take a bath?
Take a bath.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much. You are one of the most genuine, beautiful,
Thank you so much.
great
man.
beacons of what makes humans great, and I appreciate you coming on so much. I look forward to drinking with you after this.
Hell yeah, dude.
And
Let's do it.
I can only guarantee we're going to be homies for life.
Hell yeah. I'm in.
Thank you so much, everyone. We'll see you on the next episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Peace out. Bye.